All right. So the journey's all about the process. The process of becoming better handlers, better houndsmen, better dogmen. So we're going to follow up on this episode. And I had the pleasure, this summer I took a trip to Maine and spent some time up in the North Woods. We hiked Baxter State Park, got eat up by mosquitoes. Spent some time up on the coast, and we went to Acadia, went to Cadillac Mountain. It was just a good trip. We spent a lot of time eating seafood. I ate enough lobster to make somebody sick, and I'd still eat some more because it was that good. And while we were up there, I was fortunate enough we were staying close enough to Brandon Mitchell, and you guys know I had him on last year, and the episode was when life gives you lemons. And if you remember on the episode, his Toyota truck was buried up, door high in the water. And that's what happens when you're hunting. But so I was fortunate enough. We went down to Brandon's little cottage there on the lake, and the girls swam, and we went fishing, and we ate, had a good time. Mark actually came up. He went and got a load of dog food, and he met us there. So I got to spend some time with those guys, and I really enjoy it. And on the way home, I have to do another follow-up, because on the way home I stopped and ate with Jason Carter and got to pick his brain. His dad and mom was there from Merry Meeting Kennels. So Maine was a good trip for me this summer. And, I can't thank Brandon enough for having us over, putting up with all the chaos that we bring. But I just told him the girls loved it. They were paddleboarding, they were kayaking. I think it was just me and you and Maddie and Tegan, and then you and your son went. And man, we caught two pretty nice bigmouth there at your cottage. But good time. Enjoyed Maine. I recommend it to everybody if it's just a summer trip. There's plenty to do. It's different. It's not as commercialized by sure. But I've been to Maine a couple times hunting. So just going to take this episode, and we're going to follow up with Brandon. How's things up in the Northwoods today, Brandon?
Oh, pretty good. Weather's a little cooler today, so that's always good in my book, and it's not raining, so that's good.
Well, when I was up there, you and Mark both said it had been the rainiest season, and when I talked to you the other day, you said it was pouring down rain.
Yeah, it's been super rainy here all year. It's been crazy.
Yeah, that's wetter than normal, I guess.
Yeah, a lot wetter.
Yeah. So, yeah. How's Grace and the kids?
They're good.
Yeah?
They're good, yeah. They're school, and the boy's been cool hunting with me some, and Chet and I, and he's looking forward to deer season, so.
And your season, your bear season is over, or it's going to be over here shortly?
Yeah, Friday the 28th or the 29th there.
Yeah, it'll be over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then deer season for firearms opens up the following Saturday.
I got you. So the bear season has to be done by then, right?
Yeah, so you can still shoot a bear by chance if you happen to see one and you haven't filled your tag, but you can't pursue it with dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you and Mark had told me that when I was up there. Yeah. So let's just, I know that when I was up, had you had Monkey already, and y'all season had come in when I was up there, right? That was right. It had just come in. Yeah.
It was training season. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess it come in July 1st for you guys?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yep. So you had an opportunity to go out. We had talked about one of your hunts, and I'm remembering that now. I guess with old age, you start losing track of things. Like I have to be reminded. I think I have to be reminded sometimes.
It all blends together.
Yeah. But I know, I know you're busy with work and everything, and, hunting. I know we talked about it, that, being able to get out and hunt sometimes is a problem. And I didn't realize this, but, you and Mark both have to drive a tremendous amount of way to actually get in the woods.
Yeah, I have from my normal running area, it's about 3 hours one way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I could do that maybe a day or two. I mean, that's a 6-hour trip even if you don't hunt.
Right.
But yeah, and you guys were explaining all the ins and outs and stuff that, I don't know. I didn't know, and I didn't understand how some things worked. And it was really interesting to hear some of the hurdles and hoops that you guys have to jump through just to run your dogs. And
yeah,
I know that, we are lucky. We're kind of in a battle right now with the landowners committee with the right to retrieve, which I think is going to be okay. But I think there's going to be some changes that's not going to set well with everybody. But the right to retrieve is important for us. And I know that, like I said, while I was up there, you and I and Mark had that conversation about you guys had to go through some kind of the same process. And I think that we take, I have to drive an hour to get where I want to hunt. And that's the shortest trip for me. And if I go to another area, it takes me about an hour and 20 minutes. And I don't like it because I like to be in the woods. Like, I want to get in the woods, but it's way better than y'all's 3 hours.
Yeah, that can get rough. I got fortunate this year. I had an invite to go with some guys that's about an hour and 15 minutes from my house. So I helped them a little bit this year, and that worked out good.
Yeah, well, it gave you more opportunity to go, right?
Yeah, that's right. I got to hunt a lot more this year, so that helped.
Good.
Yeah.
And like I said, I kind of want to go back to the trip this summer. Grace fixed us a good dinner, and like I said, you and I went out and took some of them and fished, and Maddie, like, she still talks about catching that largemouth. That's her first largemouth.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
oh, okay.
We
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we fish for muskie, and we just have smallmouth. Now, I don't fish the lakes for the largemouth, but what we catch is just smallmouth and muskie, and the muskie's on her list. She's not hooked one yet. She's had several follows, and she gets excited and either freezes or jerks it away from the fish. And I know your son, like, he was disappointed that day, but it wasn't a couple days later. You sent me a picture, and he had a big old hog on that thing.
Yeah. He's caught some nice ones this summer. Some 4.5 pounders.
Nice. Yeah, that's really nice, and I know it tickles him. I mean, he was thrilled to death. So, but yeah, it was a good time, and like I said, again, we want to thank you for having us up. We really, really enjoyed it, and again, the girls still are asking when are we going back to Brandon? When are we going back to Brandon? They love that little cottage in the lake. I mean, they really liked it.
That's great. Yeah. Welcome up here anytime, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that 16-hour drive is a little rough.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, holy cow! It seems like it did take us. We left. We split it up. We went to New York and stayed with a buddy of mine in New York, and then we went back. I guess we drove home Sunday. I don't remember, but yeah, we busted it up because the traffic was so bad. When you go in and around Boston, like, just trying to get out of the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So made it good. Well, let's talk about your training season. Some good, some bad, just overall what happened. Just walk us through your dogs first, so everybody has an understanding where you're at with the dogs. From last year when we talked, what has changed and what do you have or don't have now?
So the old dog, Isabella, she didn't hunt this year. She's just too old.
Mm-hmm.
She's like 14, I believe. So I had one of Brent's dogs, Monkey, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Monkey. I had my 8-year-old dog, Easy, my 6-year-old dog, Denver, and a dog I call Goober. He was about 1.5 years old at the beginning of training season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had to run all training season. So just those 4.
So how did training season go? Was you making progress? Was it in and out? Like what happened?
Yeah, it was in and out. I could really only run Saturdays during training season, and then a lot of those days it was pouring rain early morning, so I was just rigging around, and I got a few strikes and a few runs, but it was hard going with all the water there. It's where I hunt is almost all swampland. It's hard to explain. You would have to see it to really understand, but it's if you're going in the woods, you're either wading waist deep water or deeper, or you're swimming. There's no way around it. So it's tough going, and with all the extra rain, it made it even worse.
Yeah, I know you and I had talked about some boots, and when you got to tell me that, I'm like, well, I don't know. Like nothing's going to hold up. Nothing's going to hold up in that type of environment. Period.
No, I stuck to using the high top Keens because at least they're comfortable until they're wet. So
yeah. So, what any hunts that stand out? Any work that the dogs did that was exceptional, or anything's bad that you really couldn't figure out, and still kind of puzzling you?
Well, one thing I can't figure out is the dogs. My easy dog mostly, he seems to be able to rig something older than he can run, which is confusing to me. I had a lot of good strikes that he just couldn't figure out. I don't know what the issue was. So that's kind of an ongoing mystery to me, anyway.
So how old's Easy?
He's 8.
He's 8.
Yeah.
Plot dog, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
So,
yep.
Well, let's walk through that if you want to.
Sure.
We have some of the guys that I hunt with have the same issue. Their dogs will strike, and I think we actually talked about this on a podcast briefly. That they'll strike, they'll open, they'll put the dogs down. The dogs will circle the truck a time or two, and then they'll get back up on the truck and like, oh hey, let's go. And I don't know if that's what he's doing. Is he actually going hunting, or is he kind of doing the same thing?
No, he'll hunt out. He'll hunt around as long as I let him. Maybe some of it's me just being impatient, but I figure after 4 or 5 minutes, he ought to be able to figure it out,
Well, so, how far is he going?
He'll go a few hundred yards, make a big circle through the woods, a few hundred yards, out, hunt around. But
do you think I don't know, so I don't mean to offend you. Do you think he's trashy, or do you trust him? Like, I feel pretty confident when he opens, it's a bear.
Oh, they've both been pretty trashy when they're fresh, but he's been pretty honest on a bear the past year. He actually, some dogs started a moose run, and he actually came out of it, so I'm pretty confident in him on that.
Mm-hmm. And I know you guys don't have the deer population like we do. So why would you? And I'm just asking, we're just having a conversation. Like, why would you not let him just go on and hunt? Like, give him 15, 20 minutes to hunt that out.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm pretty impatient, I guess. I don't have any other answer other than that. I just, I'll let him go, 5, 6, 8 minutes. And then if he can't figure it out, I'll put him back in the box and keep rigging. So maybe it's partially my fault.
Yeah. Well,
could be.
I know that, and I'll give you one example with mine. So I had Jerry Barker in from Kentucky come in and hunt with me. He's a coon hunter, and he'd never seen a bear, so I invited him up, and I think it was the first morning. It was the first morning. Yeah, it was the first morning. We were rigging. We had rigged for a good while, probably an hour, and the dogs struck, and I turned them off the truck, and literally they went. We were 3/4 of the way off the mountain, or not 3/4 off the way. We were a quarter of the way out. The road run underneath the mountain, the top of the mountain, and I turned my young dog loose first. I wanted her, I want her to starting tracks. So I turned her loose first, and she went up there, and she was gone maybe a minute or two, and then I turned Spook loose, and Spook was gone, and I held the other dogs, and he asked me, like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I want, we need to find the track before I start dumping everything loose. And the dogs went about 400 yards, almost to the top of the mountain before they ever opened. And of course, when they opened, I sent another dog, and by then the dogs were over the top. The third dog that I'd turned loose hadn't got there, so it had not opened. And so I did not send the fourth dog. And anyway, they topped over and went into another hunting area. But I know my terrain's a lot different than yours, but I don't think it would be uncommon for your dog to be able to smell, a bear at a considerable distance. So maybe if you can talk yourself into it, giving him a little more time.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I know I get impatient, and it's a detriment sometimes, but I think you're right. I think I just didn't let him go out far enough at times.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, done that, and sometimes I probably still do it, but as long as my dogs are honest enough that I'm not, I don't worry about them running trash. I don't worry about it too much. I'll let Spook and Kate and Maggie go. If they want to hunt 30 minutes, I'll let them hunt 30 minutes. So I don't pay too much attention to it. Now my young dogs, I'm like you. I'm probably gonna give them a couple minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, and if they don't start doing something, I'm gonna either be turning an old dog into them or maybe probably rounding them back up. But back to the original thing, some of the guys that I hunt with, their dogs will literally strike, and a good track. They'll let the dogs down. They'll run up the road, run back down the road, circle the truck, whatever, and then they'll get back up on the truck, and they don't understand, I don't get it. I don't get it. And it's like I tell them, it's just one of a couple of things. Like the dog's either fooling with you, he wants off the box, and the dog's either striking trash, and then when you put him down, he's like, well, if I do this, I'm going to be in trouble, or they just don't want to go hunting. So I'm going to ask you about I was going to ask you, that was going to be my secondary question, is about when you coon hunt easy, does he hunt out? Like, will he go hunting 400, 500, 600 yards, or is he a close hunter to you? Because I have some dogs, the Maggie female, my black dog, that you guys may have seen pictures of or whatever, she don't hunt out past 200 yards. Like, that's just her cutoff. She roams about 200 yards. When I turn her off the truck, she's going to make that 200-yard circle. That's about all you're getting out of her. But I understand that too, because I know how, when I free cast her and we're just walking and hunting, I know that that's her limit. So what is Easy's limit? Do you coon hunt him too?
No, so I don't coon hunt Easy at all. Mm-hmm. So I do free cast at times though, and he'll go out quite a ways. Mm-hmm. And just he likes to follow edges and stuff like that, but he'll go quite a ways out. Oh. In half a mile or so usually. That's
pretty good distance. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think he's afraid to hunt. He has a lot of drive, that's for sure. Uh-huh. So I don't know. It like I said, it could be me. My impatience. Mm-hmm. But
so yeah. In July, y'all don't run off baits in July, right?
No, not until towards the end of July, we're allowed to put the baits out.
Gotcha. I got you.
Yeah. Yep.
So other than that, any issues, anything that, that stood out that you're in the process of working through, or?
No, not really. It's actually, my young male he's been doing really good for me. He made every race he was turned in on the whole time, and he started to trail. He's trailed out some pretty old tracks, and is starting to rig pretty good too. So that's been pretty encouraging. For
nice.
Me. Yeah.
So what stood out during the season? I know when I talked, dogs wasn't in shape was one issue. Hunting the water, like I said, you y'all told me, both of y'all told me while you were up there while I was up there that, it's been extremely wet. There's more water than normal, so that makes it harder on the dogs too. That separation happens when that bear can get in water and the dog's got to swim and catch up.
Yep.
So any good races? Any good feedback?
Yeah, I had. It was towards the end of training season. Monkey and Easy, actually, they broke off from Denver and Goober, and the Denver and Goober are the younger two, and they went into baying something. I have no idea what they were on. I stayed with the older two, and about 15 minutes later, they started baying. So I picked a set of dogs to go into, and I went into Monkey and Easy, and they had a fairly small bear, pretty well gassed out on the ground. That was pretty fun. They did a really nice job running that one. The other two, Chet went into, and by the time he had got in there, they were starting to come back out, and he didn't see what was going on there. So that's still a mystery. But training season, like I said, between all the rain and really only hunting Saturdays, it was pretty limited for me on how much I could hunt. So my dogs were not in shape at all. But I tried.
Well, I mean, it's hard when you can only hunt, a day during the week. And I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I've said it. I mean, I know what you and I talked about. That's the first thing I said. I said, well, your dog's not in shape, and it's going to take them a while to get there at that rate. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It's hard.
Yep.
So did he help you be successful, or was there not a drastic change?
Yeah, Monkey did help. I think Monkey is better at figuring out a loss in the woods and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might. All my other dogs are a little more. I don't know a little more wound up, maybe a little edgier.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Monkey would have brains enough to slow down and grub it out better. So that made a difference.
Did it help?
And,
did it point any of your other dogs in a right direction? Like help with them?
Yeah, it definitely did. It helped them get straightened out and get a little more bear-minded, I feel, personally.
Well, good.
I mean, Monkey's a really nice dog. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But, like I said, I've hunted with him quite a bit. So, yeah, I mean, I think any solid dog, in addition to a pack, should help that pack get better or at least stabilize, I would think.
Yeah, and that's what it definitely improved a little, and it definitely stabilized for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that helped.
So, anything else during training season that stands out to you?
No, other than having to go down into the nasty swamps and get my dogs a few times. It's not anything too spectacular happened.
Or ruining a couple pair of boots.
Yep, a couple of those a year.
Yeah, I don't know how when you told me that, I was like, holy cow! Like I've had mine for, I guess we won't disclose the brands that we were talking about, but I've got mine for, this is going on my third or fourth year. Of course, now I only wear them during December, that one set of boots, and the other set that you and I talked about, I wear them like during training season and now, and then I kind of switch out, for the season. But I was like, my gosh, if I was having to buy them things every 6 months like that, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah, I decided not to.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Sure.
I can understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, then see your season come in. So how did let's just start off with the beginning of the season. How'd that start off? Was it you and Chet hunting again?
So how did that work out? So the first couple days, I think Chet and I hunted together, and not a lot happened that was productive. And yeah, that's right. That opening week of the season was a rain the whole week. That's the week Brent came up, and he had some rain too. the eastern Maine got a little more rain, I think, at least in the mornings. And that kind of washed the tracks out. So that whole first week for me was kind of a bust.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Brent in between hunts up there, and he said the same thing, that it was awful wet. He said a couple of days they just got flat. They was on tracks and just got washed out.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me all week. Yeah.
So you was able to take off the week to hunt?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the times I went and helped that other guy out. Tried to anyway. But yeah, that was good. So then that first week,
The Journey on Houndsman XP has teamed up with One TDC. This dual-action support for oral health and mobility in our dogs. This unique supplement is so effective that it is recommended by top veterinarian experts worldwide to maintain and improve our dog's health in 4 different areas. Their oral health, hips, joints, and muscles, skin, coat, energy, and recovery. Guys, I've been using this product for the last 6 months, and it has been a game changer for me. If you're looking for something to help with the overall health of your dog, go to worksowell.com and give this product a try. It is highly recommended by Houndsman XP here on The Journey. Do you like to be outside like I do? Hunting, fishing, hiking? If so, onX is the app for you. I've been a loyal onX user for years. It's the one app that I can honestly say I use daily. While hunting, I know where I'm at all times. I mark trails, bedding areas, feeding areas, and the list goes on. In my travels, I use it to pre-scout all the new places that I am blessed to hunt. Last year while hiking Yellowstone, I used onX to map out the trails and know the difficulty of each one. And here's a secret. I mark all of my favorite fishing spots on onX. It's been a game changer for me at work. I've used it multiple times to get in touch with property owners. onX has so many great features and tools, you can literally use it in your everyday life. It is by far the best mapping app on the market. And hey, it's approved by yours truly at Houndsman XP. So when you go to subscribe to onX, use our code HXP20 and get you a discount. So get your journey started with onX and know where you stand.
I can't remember.
Did you go up and hunt with Brent that week, or was
Yeah,
it the second week?
That's what I was just trying to remember, if it was the first. Yeah, so I met up with Brent that first week, the midweek, and I gave him a monkey back and another dog he had up here. And then it was the end of the second week I went up and hunted with him on a Saturday. And that was a good hunt. They made pretty short work of that bear. That was they walked that one around for 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so, and then popped it up a tree. That was four of Brent's dogs, my goober dog, and Easy on that one. That was a good hunt.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you got some in on it. So
yeah, yep.
Nice. Now, did you get your dogs down at the start, or did he start it with one or two, or what happened there?
He started it with 4 dogs. He fed 4 dogs in, and then I put the pup down they were like 200, 250 yards out, and I put my pup down behind them at the bait. They made a big half mile or so circle and crossed the road we were on up further. And I drove up and I packed Easy in behind them that way.
Uh-huh.
And then they went 600 or 800 more yards and jumped, and then pretty much walked from the second it was jumped to when it treed.
Nice.
That was a good hunt. Yep. That was a good hunt.
Did y'all harvest that one or let it go?
Yeah. One of Brent's buddies there took that one.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Nice. And you had told me earlier that you got to hunt with Mark some. Was that during the same week or later on, or?
That might have been during the first week. Yeah, that was during the first week. Towards the end of it, I went up for a day and hunted. I got up there a little late, but I hunted with him and Roy, and again, the water messed everything all up, and that turned into a kind of a lot of sitting around and talking at the truck. But that was just fine too.
Well, you got a lot of knowledge sitting at the truck right there.
Yeah, for sure. Between Roy and Scott, there's another guy, I forget his name, and then there's another guy named Ken.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those were some real good people.
Yeah. I know when I was up this summer, I was going to try to go with Mark one day, and of course it just didn't work out because of the distance between hunting and the weather.
Right.
And the day that we were supposed to go, he went to another location, and of course I know he probably told you. So he started sending me videos and text messages that he's like, "Well, just be glad you didn't go because I got all my dogs wrecked."
Yeah, he got them wrecked real bad that week.
Yeah, it was not good. I mean, I think he had 4.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't remember the dog. I'd have to go back through the text messages. I don't remember the dogs' names, but I mean, one he didn't think was going to make it.
Yeah, that was Reaper.
That's it. Yep. So they can be bad sometimes. That's for sure. So your first week's over. Did you hunt any more? How did your season pan out from there?
So I think I worked most of that second week, and then the third week I hunted all week again, and had some really good runs, but no catches. They had I think I put almost 70 miles on in 3 days.
Wow.
That they put on. Yeah, and then they were pretty much, because like I said, they weren't in real hard shape at the start of that, so they were pretty sore. So I spent the last 2 days just kind of riding around with them in the box to pack them in if need be, rather than trying to keep them in the whole race. They were pretty well wiped.
Yep.
Yeah.
So nothing 70. That's a lot that's a lot. Like I told several people here this year that our bear run harder this year than I can remember in the recent past. Like, normally after you get the dogs in shape, a couple mile race, boom, it's over. And I mean, we were having 7 and 9 and 11, 16. I mean, I pulled my dogs off one at 16. Second week before the end of season, like, and my dogs were in running shape. Like, I had them in pretty good shape, and they weren't catching them. They weren't gaining ground. And
right.
This year was tougher than normal, I will say.
Yeah, we get a lot of those runners here. I know that's why Brent that's one thing he likes about coming here, is because it really gets the dogs in shape.
Yeah.
With the running bear we have. But I'm sure dogs in a little better shape might have been able to do something a little more than mine did, but they didn't quit. That's all I can ask of them.
No, stay after. That's right.
Yep.
So did you hunt any more after that? I mean, I know that. How did your season kind of wind down, and did you catch any bear up to that point other than with Brent by yourself, or?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little there, Heath.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I actually killed one myself. Chet and I. Well, it's kind of funny. We were supposed to take a friend of his out hunting with us, but he had some things come up and couldn't make it. So we decided to just go hunt anyway. And I ended up killing that one bear. So that's funny how it works out that way.
is a nice bear. So yeah, tell me the story. How did the hunt start? What took place? Like, what dogs did you have there? And I mean, man, I mean, that was a beautiful, beautiful bear. I mean, and I think, from last year to this year, I think I was just as, I don't know that I was as ecstatic as you were, but I was just as happy as you were for you for that.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. So yeah, that was a Monday. Chet and I met up there at our baits there and split up to check baits. And I had that one. It was only an hour old track at the time, so we decided to check the rest. Okay, if we have another one, save that one because it'll still be good in a few hours, was the thought. So we went around, checked the rest, and ultimately decided to just go run that bear and came back. So it was an hour and 45 minutes or so old. That's not very old. And I just dumped the whole box out, and he has a couple of dogs then he put down. So we're trying to, he has a male that he's a nice dog. He just he's not used to running in a pack. So we've been trying to get him to get the dogs packed up. And so my three went out. I didn't have Monkey at this time. My three went out. And actually they went out a different way. Denver went out a different way than I had thought the bear went. And he's going out and just really, really getting after it. And I'm getting a little irritated. I'm like, that sucker is fiddling with a moose again. So I got in the truck and drove around I thought he was going to head towards a road, so I wanted to see what was going on. And by the time I got around to the other road, all three of them were in there, and they were just screaming, not really going anywhere. So I'm like, oh, this might be something more going on here than I think. So they end up baying, and they'd move a little ways and then bay some more. And they ended up walking, probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles or so. They walked the bear, and then it treed. So I was a little less than to trust your dogs, I guess, at that point. And so I was able to drive 750 yards as the crow flies, but that was 750 yards of beaver swamp and river. So it ended up being I'd say about a mile walk to get the 750 yards that they were away. So it's wasn't a bad walk. Just you had to cross a couple of streams, and then they cut some roads in there where it's so swampy. They cut them in the wintertime, so we call them winter roads. So there's an old winter road in there, and I basically walked that right to the dogs. They had them on the edge of a clear cut in a big hemlock tree, as you saw in the picture. But yeah, I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it was in a timber cut, because that's what it looked like at the backside of that.
Yeah, it was where the edge of the swamp so they swam the swamp with the bear.
Uh-huh.
So it was on the edge of that, and then that timber cut. It was right on the transition line there.
Mm-hmm. And you said there was only 3 dogs?
Yeah, just my 3.
And what happened? I thought you had 4. What happened to the others?
So there would have been 5 total.
Uh-huh.
The two Chet put down, the male, he just kind of trailed out doing his own thing and never got in on it.
Right, and then you give Monkey back, so not my calculations right now. I got you. You only had 3. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I had given Monkey back that week before.
So after you harvested the bear and you were sitting there, what was your thought process, and what was those emotions like? Because I know you and I have talked, and I know where you've been. I know what you think. Like, what was that process? What was going through your head?
Just a lot of satisfaction. Like, the feeling of progress, accomplishment, I guess. I was pretty happy. Of course, I called Mark right away and called Rodney and my wife, but I messaged with you there.
Mm-hmm.
And so Chet came in. He had got his dogs picked up, and he had come around to help me. We had to quarter it and get it out. So we quartered it and packed it out.
I was going to ask you how you got that big old thing out of there by yourself.
Yeah, that was. I'm really glad he was there. That was a lot of work. Yeah.
So I know, I mean, I guess my first experience like that was a little different because it wasn't over a harvest. It was more for me. It was actually treeing an animal by myself. But I know like the emotions that were running through me in that point in time in my career or my hunting career, like the excitement, like probably flooded my emotions. Like I was probably so excited that nothing else kind of mattered at that point for me. And then, you come back, tomorrow your confidence is boosted, and for me, I was right back in the woods, and then I was kind of going through the same things, like, okay, the dogs are not doing this, and then that's the process I went through. It was like a roller coaster ride for me, like
yeah, exactly,
up and down and up and down. So is that what you were feeling, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. It was excitement, like you said. Excitement was just overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said again, and then the following week is kind of that emotional roll. That was the following week was the week of all the runners and no catches. So it was like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, the dogs. All right, they've done it. They can do it, and now you're out there and you're trying twice as hard now because you have some confidence, and then and then it like I said, you come away, and I'm not saying you because I don't know, but like for me, I come away, kind of disappointed that I didn't catch a few more, and then like I said, something will happen, and then I remember I don't know what time this happened to me, but I was walking out a logging road one day after I'd caught my first bear, and I can't tell you the time period. I don't know, because I was like you back when I started. I was basically hunting on Saturdays because I couldn't hunt any other time. I was working, and this is training season, and I'd caught a bear. You're feeling confident, and I'd went through a little period where I'd run stuff, and I mean at this point I don't know what I was running. I didn't catch it, so I don't know. And then I was walking out a logging road one Saturday by myself. I had 3 dogs with me. I mean, same boat you're in. I had Frosty. I had a dog named Cannon and a dog named Pooh, which was actually a coon dog. He was my Sackett bred dog, and Cannon was actually out of him, so he was a double. He was half of my stuff, and then a Sackett bred dog, and he was a 4-year-old dog and was actually he ended up being a pretty nice bear hound. But anyway, long story short, I'm walking out this logging road. I'm pulling up this incline in a curve with a laurel holler going up the mountain, and I get going, and Frosty just kind of does Frosty thing. He goes up in the laurel holler and he checks. Now back then we had the beat collar, so I didn't know how far he was, didn't know what he was doing, but he would hunt out a couple 100 yards, and he would always circle back to you. I mean, he always would find, even if I walked off and left him and he didn't do something, he would come find me. So anyway, they went up this holler. Well, he did. I had the Pooh on the lead because I was coon. He was a Grand Night champion. I was coon hunting him, and I was just taking him because I'd done granded him out. Didn't know what I was going to do with him, so I'm like, I'm just going to take him bear hunting. So, they're gone. Him and Cannon's gone a little bit longer than normal. Well, all of a sudden, I hear this big old long bawl, and I know what's happened right there. I'm like, oh, he just hit a tree. Now, I coon hunted that dog, Frosty, the dog I'm talking about. I coon hunted him. I killed squirrels out to him. I shot possums out to him. Anything that climbed a tree, that dog has had in his mouth at some point in time. So he comes in there and he falls treed. And Frosty was a big old long ball mouth tree dog. He was not a chop. Well, then Cannon comes in there and Cannon locks down. And I mean, Cannon's a really steady, tree dog. So he comes in there. So I cut Pooh loose. Pooh takes off up through the mountains. And I start pulling to them. And they're 200, 250 yards up this hollow up on that ridge. So I come out of the laurel thicket and I look up. The bear's hanging off the side of a poplar tree, like literally hanging there. Cannon and Frosty are treeing. Pooh's not saying a word. He's just like, I don't know what you want me to do here. And anyway, that was kind of like my second confidence booster. And it was I think Frosty went up there, jumped it right up, running up a tree and started treeing on it, and I've had several of those through my career now that's happened. In fact, Spook done it last year in December when Jeff Shetler was down hunting with me. He went up and done the same thing. He just fell treed in there and had a 50, 60 pound cub treed. But so that was kind of my second confidence booster with me. So have you got to that point yet, or are you still searching for it?
I would say still searching. But the where there was no catches later in the week there, but the long runs, and I saw some really good trailer work out of the dogs, and they ran hard. That kind of helped too, even though there wasn't a catch, but the dogs still did good work in my opinion. So I would say I'd like to have seen some more up a tree, but I'm still feeling better about stuff now than at the beginning of the season for sure.
I was going to say, if my dogs are trailing and jumping, I mean that's start of the process that I'm okay. I mean I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. So I mean that to me is progress. Like I agree. I'm like you. I would be like, okay, I'm getting there. Like, I'm putting the pieces together, and the races and the catches will come. If you're trailing and jumping, it's going to come.
So of course the more I hunted them, the better. The more consistent they were getting on better at trailing, and just getting in the back in the swing of things, and. But on the flip side, they were also more tired every day, so it was a kind of a double-edged sword there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, you got to hunt more during the season this year than last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't get to hunt a lot of consecutive days last year, other than I did hunt a week with Brent when he was up.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I find that the consecutive days are the days that really help you, where you just day after day. But yeah, that definitely got to go more this year.
Well, and hopefully next year you'll get to do the same or even more.
Yeah, that's the hope.
So Brandon, let's roll back to last year. What are some lessons that last year taught you that you either conquered, overcome, or understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel from last year?
Well, I learned a pretty good lesson last year, is that Toyotas aren't waterproof. that was a pretty good lesson, but it's funny now, But the light at the end of the tunnel. So last year was real rough. Just train wreck after train wreck. But at the very last day I ran last year, they treed a bear, just the two of them. The pup fell out at that point. He was real young. The Easy in Denver treed one. It was the last day last year, and it was about 300 yards off of the lease we could be on. So I couldn't even really take time to enjoy it. I just had to grab the dogs and get out of there.
Yeah. And I know that like I said, I know, from the follow up from last year, I mean, you were literally contemplating getting out.
Yeah.
And I know BB had talked to you and Mark had talked to you. And, after our conversation, it can be very discouraging when you're not seeing results.
Yeah.
And this year, I mean, what do you take away from this year? So your season's getting ready to wrap up. Like you harvested a really, really, really nice bear. You're telling me already that the dogs are trailing good. They're jumping. I know my dogs are not in the best shape, so that's probably why I'm not catching as much as I'd like to. But I did catch a bear, and I'm seeing progress through this. So what are you taking away from this year that you're going to build on to next year?
Well, I think like we talked about earlier is I need to be a little more patient in the training season and letting the dogs work to get the bear up, that, and then I think the focus on letting that young dog trail by himself a little bit next year is going to be a goal. Whereas he's been doing really well. I do have a young female now too that I have to get going as well. So hopefully I can, after a few runs, I can pick up where I've left off this year and be a little smoother, I should say, out of the gate.
What is your female? You care to tell us about her? Or what is she? Is she a puppy? She's 16, 18 months old, I think.
I
got you. You didn't hunt her any this year?
No, I just got her.
Okay.
I got her. I mean, the season's still in. I just haven't had a chance to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll coon hunt her some. I took her out the other night with Chet, and Chet's got a really nice walker dog, young walker.
Uh-huh.
But so I've been going out with him, and I'll cat hunt her. Well, she's pretty wound. If she calms down a little bit, I'll cat hunt her with my male. But yeah, she's a plot.
I got you. Yep. The same breeding as the ones you have?
So close to the same breeding as my young male.
Mm-hmm.
The older two are Easy and Denver. They're from Rodney, so there's no relation there.
I got you.
No blood. Yep.
And you said Easy's 8. How old's Denver?
6, about 6.
Yep. And then your male pup you said 1.5 years?
Well, he'll be 2 in November.
Okay.
End of November, he'll be 2.
So you're working on some older, mature dogs, and for me, that 2-year-old dog. I mean, I've got some 2.5-year-olds that. I mean, I give them a lot of leeway this year, and I think I had talked about it on a pod. Maybe me and BB had talked about it. I give my female a little bit more reins because I trusted her more. The male, I know he was hitting on some stuff on the truck. Even when I had Spook and Maggie up, he was hitting on the truck stuff that they weren't opening on, so I'm like, okay, so has he got a colder nose than they have, or is he hitting on stuff? And come to find out, coyote run across the road one day, and I was able to check him, and come to find out that he was opening on a coyote. So I held him a little bit more than I did her because I didn't have that problem with her. But a 2.5-year-old, even my 3-year-olds, I expect to see more maturity out of them and more reliability. But I still also understand that they're a 3-year-old dog, and they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna run stuff they probably shouldn't, and I don't get too bent out of shape about it anymore.
Yeah, I don't either, unless it becomes a habitual problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I took him into a few baits. Some of the days where we were just kind of done hunting for the day, I took him into some baits. And he trailed off on some I think 11-hour track and a 12-hour track. He went He only went out probably half a mile at the most and came back, but it showed me that he can smell it and work it out. So that was pretty encouraging.
Did he ever jump?
No. Those were, I think if he jumped, he wouldn't have come back.
I got you. So he just trailed.
He just kind of worked it out,
Right.
Trailed it.
Well, I mean, at least you're giving him those opportunities. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people wouldn't do that. Like, they're done hunting. At least you've got the foresight to say, hey, I'm going to go out here and drop him and give him some chances to learn.
Yeah. I was hoping to be able to get a few fresher tracks to put him on by himself, get that experience, but it just didn't work out that way.
Well, next year, hopefully during training season and your season, you'll be able to do that. And, BB and I talked about it on a podcast here recently. I don't remember which one, but, given those, like for me, even during our during our kill season, like I'm not about, I don't really care about the kill. Yes, we take some bear every year. Absolutely. But for me, it's still training season for me. Like I'm still giving my young dogs opportunities and trying to grow them, because I know that if something happens to one of my older dogs, one or two of them, like I'm starting all over again. And I've been in that situation more so than not. And I don't want to, it's too hard to get it back. So I'm trying to stay ahead of it now. I mean, that's one of my things, that I'm trying to stay ahead of having to revamp my pack or actually start over with my pack to do it. So I've got some good young dogs that show potential. So I'm hoping that I don't have to go back and relive some of that painful nightmares that I've had to do for a while.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to have to start all over again.
No, it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. And it's discouraging at the same time, because especially when you went from dogs that, could catch bear consistently and, pretty fairly nice dogs, to now I'm kind of riding everybody's shirt tails because I don't have anything substantial, and I'm pretty much packing on them or relying on them to get a bear up for you. It's pretty discouraging. For me anyway. I mean, I struggle with that myself. So I'm hoping I can stay out of that phase. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yep.
So Brandon, we followed up from last year. You said it, yourself, from a train wreck to this year, you're seeing progress and you're moving forward, and you're hoping that next year during training season, you actually continue to move forward, which I feel very confident with the help that you're getting, the mentorship that you have, that there's no doubt that you're going to get there. What would you tell, and I probably asked you this last year, what would you tell people that are in the same shoes as you are? Because a lot of us are. I know we talked about that last time we talked, that you thought you were the only one that was struggling, and man, that's so far from the truth. We all struggle at some point in time. What would you tell them?
Well, I think you did ask me that last year, and I would say the same thing. Don't give up. Just don't quit, and listen to those that know. I feel very fortunate to have the people I have that will put up with my questions and phone calls and texts all the time to help me out. So if you can find somebody that is a good hunter and houndsman, and you just keep pushing along, then they'll help you as they can, I think.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, if you can tell yourself, I know that I'm going to suffer a little bit, but I'm going to keep pushing. And that's what really distinguishes success from failure. The people that fail give up and don't keep trying. And the people that succeed, they keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing until, they get to that point where they're successful.
Yep.
So
it's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's for sure.
And having a patient wife helps too.
Yeah. Well, you got a good one, and she's a pretty good cook too.
Yeah. I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Brandon, I appreciate you coming back on here and talking to us and, filling us in from this year. And, one thing that I want to say, I know a lot of people judge success by quantity, but that to me is not what I'm looking at. You're making small steps with quality. And to me, I'll take quality over quantity any day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree. I
don't think people should necessarily judge their success. Well, I call it, 15, 20, 30, whatever that number is. I don't do it. I don't do it by numbers. Like I said, your dog's, if he's trailing off a bait and jumping and running, like, he's putting it together. So we're making those steps. They're baby steps, but we're making steps.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, and we may do a follow-up next year. That's for sure. Keep chugging along and finding out where you're at with this, the trio you have going on, and then you're adding the fourth. So I really appreciate you coming on, spending your time with me this evening, and helping us, teach, train, and learn. And this is definitely a learning lesson for us and stuff that, especially newcomers and new guys that hunt, I think you said it best. Just don't give up. You got to keep putting yourself out there and giving your dogs opportunity. And if you keep doing that, you're gonna start being successful. It just takes time and patience.
That's right.
Yep. So, all right, Brandon. Until the next go. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.